That's great. Thank you. Hello. Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing? I hope you guys are doing good tonight. We are going to get pretty crafty tonight. We're going to learn something new. So I hope you're excited. This is going to be fun. Hi, Diana. I'm just trying to wipe off some glue off my desk from the project I was working on earlier. So I did a video making this card right here. See, and I had people asking me how did I do it. So tonight we're going to recreate the card, but not with the same pattern paper or anything, just the design of the double Z fold. See? Super cool. So I've seen these made by other people, and then I just made up my own sizes and stuff. I just kind of winged it like I usually do. You guys know me. I always do that whole winging it thing. And so I'm not claiming it as my own because I saw lots like it, but this is just how I make it. And then while I'm waiting for people, I'm going to do the card design first for those that come in and just want to see the card design. We're going to do that first, and then we're going to color this guy from the superheroes to go on our card. So those who like to do the whole video can stick around, check that out. But those that just want the card design and measurements, I'm going to have that afterwards. So I'm just setting this on here, giving a few people some time to, you know, pop on and say hi and let me know that you're here. And then we'll probably need a sentiment. Hey, Cheryl. We'll probably need a sentiment for the inside, but I'm going to wait until I get to that point, and then I'll decide at that time what sentiment I want to put in there. So just saying, this is the guy we're working with tonight. We're going to do the card first, and then we'll do the coloring. So if you have him and you want to color with us, go ahead and stamp your guy, your superhero. Okay, so recap, this is the card I posted, and I got a lot of requests on how did I make it and what are the measurements. So we are going to do that tonight. So for those that are here, if you want these measurements, grab yourself something to write on because I'm going to give them to you as we create. So I'm going to make it first, and then we're going to color and decorate it. So now you know the whole plan. Hello, hello. By the way, does anybody have this Creative Memories cutter? I'm a little disappointed the other day. I was cutting a whole bunch of stuff, and this arm now doesn't stay up all the way. It kind of falls down. So it blocks my paper from going flush. And I just wondered if there's any way to fix that, or if I just need to buy a new one. So if you have one of these, it's by Creative Memories. Let me know. The same thing happened to my Tim Holtz trimmer that's about this size, and that's why I don't have that anymore. If you're watching on YouTube, you can still comment. I would love to know if anyone has an answer for me before I have to buy a new one. Okay, so I chose the color of card base that I want in blue. You can choose whatever you want. I grabbed myself a piece of black paper, and this black paper is 4 inches across, so I need it to be at least 4 inches across. And then this is a half a sheet of 8.5 by 11 in yellow that I'm going to use as my accent color. You need a piece of white paper for where you're going to write your note when you make your card. And then any piece of pattern paper that you want. I took this one from the from the Paper Pack Comic Universe that we have in the shop. I chose this one because I wanted to keep it a little bit vague. I chose this one, you can see it right there, because I had leftover pieces of paper and I wanted to do something with them. So that's why I used this one on this card. Plus, he's hanging from the light post. Isn't that great? I just love that. So you can choose any one you want. I thought about these extra sheets that I have, but they weren't quite wide enough as I wanted them to be. So we're going to have to cut a sheet of paper for that. And then if you want to do this section in the middle with words, you can put anything you want in there, but you can put paper or whatever. But I like to put the word hero in there, and I don't have any more of these particular pearl letters that spell hero. So I'm going to use these tonight. These are just silver letters that I thought would look really good with our paper. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do, you're going to need a trimmer. And you're going to need a scoreboard. So you choose trimmer and scoreboards you want to use. So you're going to need both. I'm going to actually put this one on my desk because I can work on top of it. That way I don't have to like keep moving them back and forth and whatever. We are going to work a little bit with, ooh, it's having trouble focusing on that, huh? Too many things in the picture? What is the problem? Hey, what is... Okay, hold on, you guys. Bear with me. I don't know why it clearly does not like the lines on this. There we go. It got confused, didn't know what it wanted me to focus on, so... All right, we're back in business. Hey, Christina. My cutter, the clear plastic arm thingy broke. I'm wondering if you can buy that part anywhere. That would help too. Oh, okay. So the arm broke off on yours. This is not going to work in the video until we put paper on it. So I'm just going to take it off. So if anyone knows if you can fix the arm, that would be helpful as well. So let's start. The first measurement I want to start with is the card base. So this is going to be an A2 card. So that's pretty simple. We all know we're using a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and this is half of it. So 8.5 this way, 5.5 this way. It's a regular A2 card. Most of you know what that measurement is. Okay, now I'm going to pull out the scoreboard, and I know it's going to work because I'm going to put the paper on it, so it's going to focus on the paper, okay, because I've done this before. I know it works. Okay, so here's my measurements up here. So when you're doing a regular card base, come on, focus on my hands. Why, I don't know why it's doing that. So bizarre. Anyway, so we want to do 4 1/4, which is half of the 8.5. So right down the center, that's your regular card base. So that, I mean, you guys probably already know that. And then what I want to do is I want to do half of one side. So I don't care which side you use. In this case, I'm going to use this side right here. And I want to do it at 2 1/8. I think. Hold on, let me double check. Yes, 2 1/8. So I'm really just halving. The 4 1/4 is 2 1/8. So if you don't know what an eighth is, it's this mark right here between 2 1/4. There you go. So we just want to score those lines. Okay, so now we have one solid side here and then one in half. Okay. So I'm going to leave that out because we're going to need it again. And then you just want to, I have all the measurements right here and I'll show them to you in a minute, but I want to go through them all first. So we're going to fold it right here in half, first in half, and then burnish your halvesies. And then we're going to take this piece that's in half and we're going to fold it backwards. So this way. Should meet up with the edge of the card because it's half of the card. So nothing hanging over, just in half. Although it does look a little bit like this is longer, but it's not. It's half and half. So there we go. Now you have a Z fold card. That's how you make a Z fold card. Just in case you were wondering, that's how you do it. Now, what you add to it after that is up to you. And there are so many options of what you can do with this. It's insane. So, we're going to set that aside. And now we're going to work on the piece that's going to go in here that's going to double layer this Z fold card. So that's the part that everybody wants to know. So, you can choose how wide or how small that you want this to be. You could put 2 of them. You could put 1 of them. You can do whatever you want. It's completely up to you. But I decided that I like mine to be most of the card, leaving just a little bit on each side. So I measured this out to be 4 inches. So you need a sheet that's 4 inches. And then again, it's paper. So it's regular. I did it on the 11-inch side so that I would have plenty of room to go this way. Then I'm going to cut this one at 7.5. So 4 by 7.5. So I have to grab my other trimmer because I can't do 7.5 on this little bitty one. I meant to do that before, but I guess you need to, I wanted you to see it. So 7.5. So now we have our piece that's 4 by 7.5. Pretty easy, 4 by 7.5. And now we're going to score this. So I'm going to grab that crazy scoreboard that doesn't seem to want to work right again. And we're going to try to sneak it on there. We'll keep moving it if we have to. I think I'm going to grab my pattern paper and kind of cover up some of those lines because I feel like it's the lines that's messing it up. All right, and now we're going to score this black piece of paper right here, okay? So we're going to score it in 2 different places. We're going to score it at 3 inches, so 3. And then we're going to score it at 5 1/4, right here. Okay? So 3 and 5 1/4. And that's it for that one. Pretty easy, only a couple of scores and a couple of cuts and you're good to go. Not too shabby. I'm going to move this. This is my Caterpillar scoreboard. Put it back where it belongs. And the rest of the cutting we can do with our small trimmer. So we're going to worry about that at that point. Okay, so this larger section right here, I'm going to put it on the right, okay? And then I'm going to fold towards the larger section. So we're kind of repeating this just with a smaller piece. So I'm going to score that. And then the other one, I'm going to fold backwards, just like we did with the card. Okay, these should meet up as well. I made them the same size. This piece right here is the same size, both inside and on the top. It's just a little bit bigger on the bottom section. Okay, so then you place this inside at wherever you want the base part to be. So I just eyeballed it, but you could measure it and put it like halfway in between. Whatever you want to do. You could put it on the bottom or wherever you want. It's up to you. And I'm just going to leave maybe about a 1/2 inch between the edge and this panel right here. See how that folds over? So you can decide where you want it. You can make it stick out further or go in further. What it's going to do is just make the difference of how big this gap is right here. Okay? So the further out you put it, the wider the gap. See? So your gap could be really wide or it could be not so wide. I like mine kind of thin, so I usually measure this about a 1/2 inch from here. And then we have both of the panels that we need. Now, before we glue these panels in here, I want to put the decoration on this panel first, okay? So I need white on here and white on here because this is gonna be in the inside of my card, and that is where I'm gonna write notes and information and whatever I want to write on there, okay? So I need those measurements to be 3 7/8 by 2 7/8. If you hate 7/8, just go with 3/4 instead, okay? It'll work. You just need to change 3/4 throughout the whole thing. But I like the 7/8 because it gives me 1/8 of an inch around the edge, and I just like it that way. So I'm going to take just this white piece of paper and cut it at, this is 3. 7/8 is that notch between 3/4 and the next inch. So that one little space in between, okay? So that's 3/4, and then you just go up to that middle notch in there, and I'm just going to cut that. So that was 3 7/8, and now I'm going to cut the next one at 2 7/8. So again, the notch, the larger notch after 3/4, right there. So that is the 3 7/8 by 2 7/8. So this is still 3 7/8, and now we need one that's 2 1/8. So 1/8 would be not the tiny notch, but the first medium size notch right there. Okay. So that gives us those 2 white cardstock panels that we need. Now, I'm going to want to matte with yellow so that it blends in with the colors of the paper and the colors of the guy we're going to color and all that information. Hey, Beth, don't worry. I know if you're just coming in now, don't worry. I'm going to put up on the screen, and you can take a snapshot of it, what these measurements are. This is just for those who wanted to write it down with further instruction. But if you just want the measurements, I'm going to show them again so you didn't completely miss it. Okay, with the solid cardstock, because I want to mat it under the pattern cardstock, I need 2 that measure at 5 3/8 by 2. So we're going to measure the 5 3/8. So again, let's talk about the 8s. The 8s are the medium notches in here, okay? So 3 would be 1, 2, 3, right there. Oh, look, my paper's already cut it that fat. That was pretty awesome. And now I'm going to cut them at 2 inches, okay? So I need 2 of them. So this is, I'm just making sure it lines up because sometimes I don't get it completely straight on there. So I'm just making sure that it's perfectly straight, especially with this trimmer kind of messing up now. There's some fuzzies up here. So there's 2 inches, and then I'm going to cut another one that is also 2 inches. So just making sure it lines up all the way down. So that's my second panel. So that's all I need with the accent cardstock. All right, so now I have the pattern paper. You hate math, I know. That's why I'm going to give it to you. Then you don't have to worry about it. But what I was saying earlier is if you hate 8s, just go with quarters. I mean, I just wanted 1/8 of an inch around the edges, but if you do a quarter, you're going to have a bigger space around your edges. It'll look more like this one instead of this one. This is 1/8 and this is 1/4. Okay? So I wanted them to be 1/8, so that is why I chose these measurements, and I get they're complicated, but just change it to quarters. the next thing we're going to do is cut our pattern paper. And what I want is I want it to include this green and yellow in both pieces. So I'm going to cut this panel right here at, I think it's on my next sheet. Yep. At 5 1/4. So this is going to be 1/4 inch smaller than these. Okay. So 5 1/4. And then I'm going to cut 1 7/8. Okay, so that's 1/8 of an inch. So if you wanted to do this in quarters, this would be 1 3/4. Okay, go down, don't go up. All right, so I want this piece right here with the yellow in it. So 1 7/8 is that middle notch between 3/4 and a full inch. Okay, there we go. So I want that one because I want the yellow in it. And then for this one, I want the yellow and the green. So what I'm going to do is cut just randomly right here on this space close to the green and yellow, so that when I turn it around and do the 1 7/8 again, I'm going to get that green and yellow in my piece of paper. See? So I just wanted that color in there. It's going to help with the colors I want to color the guys, so that's why I wanted them in there. And then I have these leftover pieces of paper, which is what I had left over and made this with. So I'll save those because I can certainly use them on something else, and I'm happy about that. That is the last measurement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the measurements on the screen now, so you will want to take a snapshot of it while it's up there. Okay? I'm going to put this one down here. A little bit lower. Right there. Okay. Card base, 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. Score the front piece at 2 1/8 or 2 1/4. Depends on what, no, you have to do this one at 2 1/8. You can't change it or it'll be wrong. Okay. And then for the next piece, which is this one, the black one, you're going to do that one at 7 1/2 by 4 inches. So I gave you a little picture right here. This is the 7 1/2 by 4. Okay. Then you're going to score that one at 3 5 1/4. So it was like this, 3 5 1/4. Your white cardstock, 2 of them, one at 7/8 or 3/4, and one at 1/8 or do you know what the next one would be? Or 2. Okay, so you want to go down if you're going to cut out the 8s. 3 7/8 would be 3 3/4. 3 7/8 would be 3 3/4. So you can do these measurements, or you can move them down to 1/4. So just don't move this one. Solid cardstock, that's the one for the inside part right here. 2 of them at 2 5 3/4. I mean 5 3/8, or 5 1/4. Okay, go down on the measurement. Right here I wrote or change 7/8 to 3/4 and 3/8 to, ooh, this should be a 1/4. Not a half, sorry. Let me fix that. If you took a screenshot, you might want to take one more. Make sure we get this right. This is 1 1/4. And then your last one is your pattern paper by 2 7/8, or, I mean 1 7/8 or 1 3/4. 5 1/4. That one works. Paper reminds me of the Lorax trees. It does a little bit. You're right. That's awesome. Okay, so there you go. Those are the measurements. That's how you do it. If you missed it and you want to get the measurements, this will be up on YouTube tomorrow, so you'll be able to see it there. Now, let's assembly. First thing we have to do is put our pattern papers, our solid papers on, because it's just harder once it's put together because it doesn't technically lay flat. and it's harder to put on. So we're just going to put it on now. So right here is where we're going to put the solid white. And I am going to do this in the order they need to be done, okay? Because some are going to overlap, and so we want to make sure that we have them lined up the way that we want. So this is just going to give us a teeny tiny little border. See it? It's hard to see on my desk, but... All right, next one's going to go right here. So we're going to glue that one on. Now, if you wanted to use a full sheet of pattern paper, you could do the measurements for the inside right now, which I'll show you what I mean in just 1 second. You could use it all throughout here, but we're only going to use accents here and here. But if you wanted to, you could cut all the pieces and do the whole thing. All right. That's all we need on this piece. Thing that we'll do is this recorded so we can go back and watch as we are making the cards later if we aren't able to craft along right now. Yes, it will be on YouTube. I will be uploading it to YouTube tonight, so it'll be on YouTube tomorrow.
And it'll be in the group for 30 days.
And it'll be in the group for 30 days, but they delete it after 30 days automatically, and I don't want that to happen, so I upload all of the videos to YouTube. That way, you won't miss it. The only time it's not uploaded to YouTube is when Facebook won't let me download the video, which hasn't happened in a while, but was happening for quite some time. Okay, these boxes are 1 inch, so half is a 1/2 inch. So I usually line it up with my desk, you know, and kind of eyeball what's a 1/2 inch from the edge, right here. And I lay it in there like that. So I make sure I tuck it in, okay? Lay it down. Once I have it, I'm just going to hold it with magnets, okay? And then I'm going to lift this up, and I'm going to add my glue on the back of just this panel, okay? But I'm only going to do half of it, so half of this panel. Let me show you what I mean. The top half of this panel, we're going to put glue on. You don't need it on all of it because you don't want it to stick where it's not supposed to stick. So half is good enough. Then you lay this down and you press this. So basically, you have now attached. See, we didn't want it to go all the way because this part would stick to the other part and it wouldn't open up. Okay? So only the top half. Okay? Once you have that done, take these off, flip it over. This is just the easiest way for me to do it. Lift this up, put glue on the back of your black. This makes it a lot easier than trying to hold it in that 1/2 inch away from the edge, blah, blah, blah. This all holds it together for you. You're going to lay this flat down, rub it with your pop press, because that's what makes it fun. When you flip it over, you now have this. Facebook is poop. Yeah, sometimes it can do that to you. It's frustrating. But now we have this. So it closes flat, so you can mail it in an envelope. It opens up. It looks super cool. So there you go. Yay. All right. So next steps are going to be to add the remaining papers. So I'm going to start off first by adding each one of these patterns on top of the solid color in the direction that I want it to be. And what I mean by that is I'm just going to decide if I want the green at the top or the bottom, or the orange at the top, or the, you know, whichever way I want to do it. So I'm going to put the green at the bottom. I'm going to lay it on top of this one. Just kind of line it up the way that you want it. gonna flip it over and rub it with my, it is cool, isn't it? I really like it. And like I said, once you get it down how to make that, like you could do strips, or you know, just make each strip the same size. And I mean, you can do so many things with that design, which I love. So I'm sure I will be making many more of these. It's just so fun. All right, and then this one, I want to keep those yellows kind of close to the same spot. See how we have yellow here and yellow here? So I'm going to place it in this direction. Just lay that down so that it's lined up the way I want. I'll flip it over so I can press it down. I usually do both sides just to make sure the glue is spread out and I have a really good hold. And there's my two pieces. Now we're going to add them to the card. Okay? And I think you can do them either way. It's up to you. Whether I want the yellow on the inside or the yellow on the outside. And I think I want the yellow on the outside so you can see it really good. Clearly you've probably already discovered that we're going to use yellow in our image that we're going to make tonight. So I'm just adding the yellow where, make sure we have some yellow accent. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put this panel on top of here, centered on this half of the blue. And again, it's that 1/8 inch, so it's not a lot of border around it. But if you did it 1/4, you'll have more of a border, which is great. I'm gonna flip it over and press this just to make sure I have a really good hold on that. Notice I'm not flattening the card. I don't want to squish my fold in the middle, so I'm just going to press it like this right here and then flip it back over. And then I'm going to put this one right here. So I really only have to match up 3 sides and then it'll fit right there. If you're afraid of wasting paper or whatever, I mean, you could measure what this should be exactly without overlapping it, but that makes it a little bit more of an advanced class, and I just thought it would be easier to put it over top. So you can modify however you want. That's what I usually do when I see something super cool like this, is make it the way that I want it from my card. So you do the same. Just like coloring, you color in the colors that you like. I color in the colors I like. You know, make it your own. So I can rub this on this side or the other side. I think I'm going to do both. Just this one's a little bit harder to do. So I'm going to, you can't really see, but I'm going to lay it on the edge of my table so I can hang off this off the table so I'm not squishing it. And that gave me just a little bit more. Ta-da! I'm going to use my my little burnisher to reinforce that fold right there and this fold right here now that I have my papers on there, and it's going to lay just a little bouncy. I've been making cards for years. I've never seen anything like this. I know. I hadn't either until really, I think, where I saw it that I wanted to do it, or the idea of it was when I was at the Craft Roulette. I told you guys, the paper Ganza, I told you I would come back with cool stuff. This is one of them, and I really like it. Okay, so we are going to add the letters here that say hero, but let's go ahead and color our image and then we'll have it ready to put on there. So you could do more than one. You could put a villain over here and a hero over here and make it a whole battle scene if you really, really want to. You could put the POW and the whatever over there. But I'm not going to color all of that tonight. So we're just going to do one image, and we're going to do this guy. so we can put him on the front right here. But you know, the dog would look super cute right here. Anyway, we'll do the dog another time with another card. But for tonight, we're just going to do this guy. All right, so we're going to grab our Memento ink. I need to get some more of this or refill it or something because it's been misbehaving lately. So I'm just going to press that down on top of him, and then I'm going to put it on the paper, and I'm going to use my soda press tool. Sorry, I was focusing. To rub it. It's a little bit on the, it's not quite all the way because this is a brand new stamp. So you see in his eye, it didn't stamp quite all the way. So I'm going to do it one more time. That is the Love of the Misty. You can stamp it again if it doesn't do it all the way. And just rub it. And you don't have to press real hard. Just rub it around with that tool. And now we have it nice and solid, crisp image. And we didn't mess anything up because we could stamp it again if we needed to. And then there is our image. I'm going to wipe this because I don't want to get it on my sticky mat now that Dale cleaned my sticky mat for me. Yeah, it's back to sticky.
Soap and water.
Soap and water. Dale cleaned my sticky mat here with soap and water, and now it's back to sticky. I love it. It makes me happy. All right, I'm going to put that over there. All right, now we need colors. Since I have a large piece of paper right here, we're going to test our colors and make sure it matches with our background. Usually I do the coloring and then match the paper to the coloring, but tonight we're going to reverse it just because I wanted to show you the card before we got started, kind of switch it up a little bit. Let's see. So for skin tones, let's go with, oh, I'm so glad you're liking your Misty. I thought that you probably would. I mean, I don't know how you could go wrong with the Misty, but I'm going to use these colors tonight. I'm grabbing my Copic holder so you guys can see what I'm doing. And I will zoom in just a minute so you guys can see a whole lot closer what we're doing. So I'm going to use the base coat of E000. And then I'm going to use the shadow of RV95. And then I'm going to use E11. And then E21. And then E00. Now I'm going to tell you that a lot of people will reverse these. But I noticed that my 11 seems to be darker than my E21. And I don't know if it's just because I've had them for so very long that it just is darker. But you can do these two either way. You choose, I like E11 first instead of E21. And then E00 to finish it up. We're going to need a little bit of blush on the cheeks. I don't want to go heavily with some kind of crazy color, but I think tonight I'm going to use R20. It's still pretty light, so we should be good. Set that aside because we won't need that until we start blending for the colors. Let's zoom in, and I'm going to zoom in pretty close because I want you guys to really be able to see what I'm doing. This guy, he's so cute. He reminds me, like, it's almost like a cross between like an Iron Man, a Green Lantern, and a Superman because Superman was my favorite. I don't know. It's kind of a cross between all of those is probably where my brain was going when I drew this guy. But now you know. E000 is what we're going to do with the base coat. So honestly, that just means coat the paper on the face and hands and arms, legs, feet, whatever image you're doing, you're going to want to just coat that all with this base coat. So I know that some of you usually can't stay the whole time, so I do want to mention that if you do already have these stamp sets, if you don't, you might want to order them. They're going kind of fast. I mean, people are really liking these superheroes. So you might want to grab them in the shop. And the paper pads too. So if you waited on your Interstellar paper, can you hand that to me so I can show it? If you waited on your Interstellar paper from the last release, they are almost gone. When they're gone, they're gone. I'm not planning on reordering them. So if you liked this one and you waited, you might want to grab it because it is almost gone. Okay, here we go. So we could make his hands with gloves, or we could color them in skin tone color. So tonight, I think I'm going to go with just skin tone. But you can, I wonder what I did on the package. On the package I did them as gloves. So see how they're part of the red outfit that he has on? But this time we're going to do them as skin tone. So you can choose whichever one you want. That's the beauty of it being your image, your stamp. You can color your stamp however you want. All right, and then we're going to go to our darkest color, which is the RV95 Tonight. Again, there are a lot of different skin tone colors, so choose what you like. And then we're going to put in where our shadow areas, our darkest shadow areas, which I'm going to stick towards the hairline around the face for this. And this little hair is kind of around his face, so this piece behind here is also in dark shadow. Again, just like I was explaining the other day, I don't want any of this to go square. So when I go around the corner, I want it to be a bit of a curve, no squares. So same thing over here. I'm going to square that off. I'm going to curve that square off is what I really meant to say. So that it's more realistic because it's more smooth. You don't really want a square look to your shadows. So then I'm going to do inside this ear. And I'm going to do a little bit along the bottom as well. I'm going to do the same thing on this inside ear right here. So that's just going to get us some shadow. Oh, I do this every time. I missed his neck. So I'm jumping back in with the E000 so I can put the shadow area on his neck. And I'm just going to put that on the sides. Just like that. And then for the hands, I'm just going to put it right now, right here, where this wristband thing, I'm sure there's a name for it. I'm sure Dale knows what it is. But right where that goes over his hands, where I'm going to put the shadow. We don't have to do any feet or legs or anything like that tonight. Then we're going to move to our E11. And I'm going to go along this line right here, pushing that color more back into itself. I don't want to, I could drag it, like if the dark color were here, I could drag it this way. But what I really want to do is kind of push it back into itself to keep that dark line along his hairline. So that is what I'm doing right here. This one, I'm kind of doing the same thing here, and then I kind of want to put a little bit up here at the top of his ear because his hair will be covering that part right there. And now we're going to go down just a little bit further around his face, around his cheeks, because we got to start building in this color. The other ones are going to get pretty light. And then I don't like to accent the nose a whole lot, but I'm going to put just a little bit of a symbol in there. It'll be hard to see when I get done, because I don't like to put all those noses and stuff in there. So I went along the top and then soften the edges of what's under his chin. And for this one, I'm going to push that back as well, just like I do with the other part, by his hairline. After that, I'm going to start pulling. Like I just pushed back on the darkest, the second one, and then I'll start pulling next. So you'll see what I mean, because there'll be two different views of that. So E21, this is the next one. And I want to put quite a bit of this one because we really only have one more color left. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to go under the eyebrow so I can get that color in there. And then I'm going to start extending this color out. And I'm trying not to go all the way back to the first color, just that E11. So I can keep that dark color up there. I'm going to go one more time over just the line area where the two transition so that I can soften that up a bit. Don't want to see any lines on his face. This one, I'm just going to leave that center part of his ear alone for the last color. This one gets all colored in. I'm going to start on this cheek under the eyes, bringing it into his face and completing all the way around the outside of his face. I'm going to touch this nose one more time, kind of like that. Just one little flick from the bottom of his nose up, just to give a little bit of shadow there. Now for the hands, we're going to go all the way down the hands with this color. And same thing for the neck, all the way across, filling in the neck. We're not going to use the last color on the neck at all. We're going to grab our R20 so we can put just a little bit of rosy in the cheeks. Not a lot, but just to make him look human. So this is a really light color and I'm barely touching the paper. It looks bright now, but it's going to be toned down a bit with the next color. So I'm just barely touching the paper and adding a little bit of blushy pink to his cheeks. I don't want him to look like he's wearing makeup. I just want it to look like he's alive. E00 is our last one. I'm going to start from the top and just expand down. And this time I'm only going over the E21 portion of this up here. The more you go, the lighter you're going to make it. So don't spend too much time going over the other colors. Then we're going to go around that eye right there. Down this way. And now I'm going to come in on the cheeks. Sort of like I did with the pink, but a little bit further to kind of fill those out. And it's also going to soften that pink so it's not too vibrant. Then I'm going to go where the nose was and just kind of flick up with the nose. So as you can see, when we get done, there's just barely a shadow on that nose. Just enough to give it a little bit of personality, but not too overpowering. I'm going to go on the hands from the knuckles up just to soften anything that might need it. And that's it. Well, that's almost it. I'm going to do the ear too. There we go. That's it. There we go. So now we have skin tone. It's nice, smooth, it's pretty. If you want more shadow, you can go back and add more, but I kind of like him just like this. You see when I hold him up close, you can really see that shadow area that you couldn't see when it was like here. But it's there. And I feel like it's good enough just like that. So I'm going to take those markers, put them aside, and we're going to do hair next. And then we'll pick the outfit color. So, what colored hair? Black, brown, blonde? I think I did brown, so maybe I should do black. I don't know. What do you guys think? This is how I make sure you're awake. Ha 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 ha. This is how I make sure you're awake. This is the one I did with black hair. This is the one I did with brown hair. But we can pretty much pick any color we want. For hair, I can give it red hair, although it might look a little funny with yellow and blue. Well, maybe not. Yellow and blue. I want to make his outfit yellow and blue. You think black? Okay, we can do black. Let's do black. All right, we're going to test a few colors. When I do black, I like to put a little bit of purple. I could actually put a little purple tone in there if you want. All right, we'll do black with a slight undertone of purple. It won't be bright, but it'll have a little bit. So when I do the undertone of purple, we're going to use this BB23 for that, I think. And then we're going to use the C's tonight. So my favorite is 9, 7, and 6. 9, 7, and 6. And BB23. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with that in just a minute. So 9. I always put them in the holder in the order I'm going to use them. That way I don't mess up and pick up the wrong one. I can keep track with how I'm going. So, all right. So let's test. This is the top section that we can test. This is the purple. So it has just a slight purple tone to it. Not real bright, but just a little bit. And then, of course, we know what the C9 is going to be really dark. And the 7. See how it starts blending into that type of purple type color? This is the 6, and then the 6 with the BB23, and you can't see it. So, some of this is not going to get colored, some of the highlights. We're going to leave those in the BB23. So, in order to make sure I don't forget to do that, we're going to mark where we want most of that. I mean, we'll put more than we need, but we want to mark where we might want those highlights to be so that I don't forget to leave a little bit of light area for those highlights. So I'm kind of just doing the center areas of his hair. Probably not going to go down here much because I'm not going to leave any of that. But I do want to leave maybe a little bit here and maybe a little bit here. And then down here, I'm just going to let that be darker. I'm not going to put any of the highlight in his eyebrows. He's going to have dark eyebrows. Okay, C9 is my darkest color. That is the one that we're going to use next. So, starting in the area I want the darkest shadows. So I'm going to start, wait, let me see if I can move this over just a little bit so you guys can see a little better. I want to make sure you can see what I'm doing. How about if we turn it like this? I bet this will be easier. All right, so I'm going to go along the artist lines and just do these little flicks up, if you will. Following these lines. I want a lot of that darkness right along his hairline. So I'm just putting these in for now. A little bit hard for me to go this direction tonight. That sometimes happens. Sometimes we can put those dark colors in. Now remember, that's his hair and that's his skin. So we don't want to go over his skin. And then down here, this is really dark. So it's going to get a little bit more of this right there. All right, so see how we started? Now we're going to put just a few little accent parts up here at the top. So I'm really just doing the in-between ones. I'm not doing all of them. maybe the underside, maybe right here just a little, right here just a little, kind of where anything is overlapped, or just to add a little bit of shadow there. And that gets us our beginning. Black with purple is brilliant. Yeah, you can mix just about any color. You just have to know what, you just have to play around with them. I am going to do this. It's going to be really hard, so make sure you hold your marker upright. I say hard because it's really hard to get a teeny tiny thin line. So I'm just going to put this really thin line at the bottom of his eyebrows, closest to his eye, like that. And I always do that with the darkest color, and then I skip the second color, and then I'll finish it off with the lightest color. That way he has two tones to his eyebrows, not just one, the darkest one, and the lightest or the second to lightest, depending on whether I'm using 3 or 4 for the color, or 5. So just don't do it the one right next to it, because then his eyebrows are going to be significantly darker than the rest of his hair, and I don't really want that. So, all right. So now we're going to, I'm going to do it this way again so you can see. We're going to go to C7. We only have 3 colors. So we're going to extend out from where we put this last color and make sure we have all the hair that's up against his forehead all filled in. So we're just extending a bit further and putting a few more of those brush strokes in there. Notice I'm curving it to go with his hair. That's important. That is really important when you're doing hair. Stay with the form of the hair, the tip of this, because remember we put that highlight right there, and it's all, our highlight's all right here. So we don't want to fill in all of the purple highlights. So for over here, that bottom section is going to get filled in, and then we're going to work this same area right here like we did on that side. And we're going to come down all from the inside, from the outside. We want all the outside covered up as well. This is black hair. I may have to go in again and darken it up, but it just depends on when it gets done, what it looks like. Sometimes it's not quite dark enough. Sometimes it's perfect. So we'll see. I'd rather go lighter and then make it darker than to start off darker and not be able to lighten it. So if you can see now, it's got it filled in so far. I really kind of like it. I'm not gonna lie. Good call, you guys. Good call, good call. I like the purple in there. It's really nice. C6 is the next color. I'm not gonna fill in everything, but I am gonna start, oops, let me go this way so you can see. But I am gonna fill in a lot of the white that's left over, but leaving those purple areas, because we're going to go over those again with the purple to keep that little bit of purple tone in there. So these are very light brush strokes. And because that purple is a really light color, you want to make sure that you don't cover all of it because it's too light. The C6 will overpower it and you won't be able to see it. So just be cautious. Make sure you leave yourself some areas that are purple. So see how I left that purple in there? If we wanted it darker, we could always come back in with a darker BV color, but I think I'm going to stick with this lighter color. Oops, I forgot his eyebrows. So we'll go back and do those in a minute. So now I'm going to use this BV23, and when I use it, I'm not just going to go over this area. I'm going to go over all of it. Just brush stroke back and forth. It's going to fill that in and kind of blend with all those other colors we put on there. It kind of helps to blend that color together so you get a really consistent bit of purple over top of the whole thing. Depending on which color you use, it could be more dominant, but just so you know, I'm just doing the back and forth. The more you go over it, the darker it will be, but don't go over it too much because this has a lot of colorless blender in this marker, and if you go over it too much, then you're going to lighten everything. So there we go. Super cool. Still has some purple to it. Not purple, but close enough. And I missed the eyebrows, so I'm going back with my C6, and I'm just going to finish the tops of my eyebrows on both sides. It just kind of gives that that really light color on the eyebrows as well. Look at that hair. It's cool. It looks really good. I like the purple. Good call, Christina. All right, so next we're going to choose his outfit. And at this point, I need to decide what colors are we going to use. So I initially thought blue and yellow with green eyes. But we could do green and yellow with blue eyes. I don't know, but we're definitely doing yellow. So while I'm choosing the yellows, let me know what you think, if you want more blue or more green. So just say more blue means you want the outfit in blue. More green means you want the outfit in green. The other one will be the eyes. Okay, so for yellow, I want this bright-ish color yellow. But when you look at it, there's some deep dark yellow in there too. So I want to make sure I pick up on that as well. So let's see. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, YR23 could pick up that really orangey yellow. And then I'm tempted to put a little bit of Y26 in there because it will give me a good shadow tone. And then I'm going to need to blend that YR23 dark color with some yellow to make it brighter. So I'm just going to grab Y15, 13, and 11 so we can blend and see what color looks best. So let's blend first, and then we're going to bring this in and see how close we get. So here we go. I think Y26 will give us a shadow area. Now, these may have to be reversed, but we'll see. Y23 is gonna, oh, it's gonna be good. Okay, Y23 blends perfectly with Y26, so that's gonna be more like my shadow-ish area. Let's see if Y15 works. Y15 works, starts bringing it back to that really yellow. Y13, I like that too. I'm going to put the rest of Y15 up here so I can see what happens if I jump straight to Y11. Will it mess up or will it work? So this is Y11. I think I could get away. I think I could get away without using 13, but I think I might have problems with the lines, so I may end up having to do tip to tip, so why not just add the 13 in there? So we'll use a 5-color combination. Y26, Y23, oh, I'm sorry, YR23, then Y15, Y13, and Y11. Those are the colors we're going to use. Again, we're going to put them in the order that we're going to use them in our little Copic holder here. Y26, YR23, Y15, Y13, and Y11. And I saw no comments that said blue or green. So I guess I have to pick that myself. I think maybe I'll just go with the blue then. For me, I think blues, in order to get the shade of blue that I want, what do you think? I think it works great. So pretty close. In order to get the blue that I want, like in this case, I want like this bright blue. It's more challenging to blend. So most people's go-to for B's is like B for jeans and things like that is B99, 97. But let me just tell you, this is never going to get me to that. This is the blue jean colors. See, it's just got too much gray in it. It's not going to work. Sorry, I was snoring out loud to hear the question. I was just asking blue or green for the outfit and the opposite for the eyes, but we're going to do it blue and then we'll move to green. So when I'm choosing my blue colors, I feel like I have to really get creative to come up with the colors that I want. And sometimes I have to use, you know, a little bit of some other colors in there. So let's see what we got. So I like the B99 because that gives me like a lot of this dark shadowy color here. We may end up with 5 of these as well. And then in order to move towards that color of blue, I feel like we need to go to B37. So still very dark, but you can see it lightening up a little bit and looking a little bit like this one. Then I'm going to hop to B26. Again, I said you have to hop around a little bit to get this color to come up. So right now, I feel like with B26 and those colors, we have pretty much nailed this one. Now we just need to go into getting lighter so we can pick up this color as well. But I feel like these 3 would be what I would do if I wanted the whole outfit to be that color. Now, I want to add in, I'm not sure if this B34, see B34 it's too dark. I mean, it doesn't have enough brightness in it for me. So let's try B52. I love B52. See how B52 starts working into that color? Still a little dull, but it does not blend with this B26 at all. So you cannot use those side by side and expect them to blend. So in order to continue, I need another B26 over here so I can start blending with that. So what if we jump to something like B04? Will that bring us to the lighter color? Yeah, I think so. Now we can probably bring in, let's say if we decided to use this one, B04, it's almost a little bit too bright. So let's say that we mix, we now mix with that little bit of B52. It will tone down that color. It's still a bit lighter than I want, so maybe I'm not going to go with the B52 at all. Maybe we want to go with, let's try 12 or 14. So this is how we figure it out. Back to this color and what blends well with that. So let's try B14. I felt like that was going to be too dark. So maybe B12 will work. Yeah, that's better. That's better. And it stays in the same tone as that one. So when you put them together, they look really nicely. So I'm going to put all the ones back that I'm not going to use. So you can hear them popping back into my Copic box. And then we're going to look at what the whole combination together is. So this is B99. I'm going to set that aside. This is B37. This is B26. This is B04. And then this is B52. which we will go over the previous color and then move on to the next color. So we'll have to work a little on that transition, but I think we can get there. So then we end up with, let's hold it this way so you can see it. Kind of matches it. It's pretty close to the color I was looking for. Now we're going to need eye color real quick, so let's go ahead and choose that. This one has very, very dark and very, very bright. So for my very, very bright, I think I'm going to go with the YG21. I think I'm going to need YG03 to meet those two together. And then I'm going to need a much darker color. So we're only going to need 3 colors. So let's see how it goes if we use our YG17. Not real dark. I want to keep these eyes rather light. So YG03. And then YG21. And I think that's going to nail the color that I want. Let's turn it around so you can see it with the dark to the light. See? I think we're pretty close on that. So I think we'll be pretty good. We combine these colors together and it is going to match with this very nicely. So let's get rolling. No delay. I just wanted you to see how I actually make that come together. As you saw, it took me quite a bit of testing on the blue to get to the color I want, but it's going to be worth it in the end because he's going to look super cool. Now, because the yellow is lighter than the blue, but together it's going to make green, we have to be careful not to overlap the colors, okay? But if you're going to go outside the lines, you need to go outside the lines with the yellow and go over it with the blue because it'll be less obvious than going over the blue with the yellow. That will just mess it all up. So what I want to do is start with my yellows. And since he has this really cool thing on his chest, we're going to make that yellow for sure. This is Y26. This isn't going to feel like yellow when we start off. So bear with me. We'll get there. So I'm going to do kind of around the bottom and then these little corners up there at the top. So just a teeny bit in there, enough to get me some shadow going. And then I definitely want there to be some on the boots. So this is almost going to be like gold accent is what it looks like right now, but it will definitely be more of a yellow when we get done. So I'm just adding a little bit of accent around the shadow areas on his boots. And then I'm going to do his stripes on the sides of his pants right here. I definitely want to put a bit of it in these, I forget what you call them, but I know Dale knows what they're called. So I'm going to put some underside here and here. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, so we're starting to get this stuff filled in. At this point, you can decide if you want, like, if you know what you want to do. Like this, you can leave the black lines in there just as an accent, or you can do every other one. But I'll tell you, it's a little challenging to do every other one because they're so tiny, or to at least put different colors in there. I will show you by doing it tonight, but if it seems a little bit too much for you, then just make it all solid, or use 1 or 2 colors instead of adding a bunch of colors in there. So if I'm going to put those colors on his shoulders, I want these little things right here to have a bit of this yellow in them too. They're so tiny that I'm probably just going to add the bright yellow over top of them and just let them roll with that. Okay, if we're going to do every other one, we have to follow the lines. So right here and right here, you have to stay with the lines where they are. So I always start with like a really easy one and then move on from there. Okay, so now that I know I want it to be those two, then I'm going to skip that one, and I want them to be equal on each side, so I'm going to skip the first one, work on the second one and the last one. That way it'll look equal on both sides. And then up here, I'm going to follow this one. Now, sometimes you get an image that someone did and they didn't even out their lines. I really try to make them even on both sides. That's just how I roll and the way I like it. So that's how I'll draw it every time. The top color that's going to be right here is going to be blue. So I want the first one here to be yellow. And then that'll make this one yellow. Same thing on the other side. This one. And then this one. Now for the belt, I think I'll come in with the grays that we did his hair, and we'll do his belt and the soles of his shoes so that we can have a little bit more differentiation of that. Could just say goodnight, everyone. Thanks. Of course. Beth, you know, you can always watch the replay on YouTube. Hi, Kathleen. How are you? Thank you for popping in. Our next color is going to be YR23. And again, I mentioned earlier that we're probably going to go over a little bit of the 26 with the 23 to get that like consistent look. I mean, we want these to look yellow, not gold. So I'm kind of going over and extending just a teeny bit further because we have a lot of colors and not a lot of space on here for these accent pieces. So we may end up cutting out a couple of colors just so that we don't have too many colors in there, but we'll see. So this is very small amounts. I'm not going to put any on these four, but I'm only going to put it on this underside of this flap right here. I want the underside of these to be darker than the top side, so that's why we're adding that. I'm going to just add a little bit on these of this color, these stripes. Again, these stripes are a little bit tiny. So if it's too much for you, you can do it in just 2 colors. It's up to you how much you want to do. Because these are very tiny spaces, so you could potentially go over the lines a little bit with it. So if it's too much for you, don't do it. I'm going to do the rest of the outside of this to keep it darker than the inside. There we go. So now we've got it going. Pretty happy so far. Next one is Y15. We have 2 colors after this, but if we need to, we can skip 13. All right, so extending out a little bit more with this 15. I think we are going to skip 13. We'll just go straight to 11. Too small. Areas are too small. I'm just going to keep this one all right here, all in this color. It's underneath. It should be shadowed. I'm good with it being that color. Since I'm going to skip that middle color, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit around the outside of these, of this Y15. Then I'll fill them in with the Y11. So Y15 is going to finish off underside of these, like that. And then I'm just going to do one quick swoop over top of that dark color I have there, just so it'll blend well with the lightest color. Alright, so a little bit further on these, leaving a very small white spot, and we're going to do that same thing. These ones at the bottom are going to get all the color because they're a little bit shadowed. And the ones up here will leave a small space for the highlight. So not on these edge ones, but definitely right here. We'll extend down, but leave a small white area, if possible. And there we go. Now, we're going to skip the Y13. If we need it to get the two colors to blend together, we'll pull it out. But for right now, I think we can roll without it. Okay, this is Y11. And I'm going to go from the top into the color. That way I can keep that really bright yellow. Then I'm just going to go back and forth and blend those colors together. I am going to touch over top of these, even though I filled them all in, just because it'll get that real bright color in there. Just finishing these up with this color. Get that blend going. Forgot to do the inside of that stone on his chest, so I'm going to have to come back in with the Y15 before I hit it with the Y11. Touching the top of those shoulder pads. Alright, so I like that. It definitely changes the color. It's definitely what I was looking for. This is the, oh no, not 13. We're not going to use 13 at all. Y15, we're going to come in with Y15 real quick. And we're going to go around this stone area right here with a very thin line. And then we're going to use our Y11 to finish that off. It'll keep it very bright. And I want it to look a little shiny when we finish up. The only part that I'm not real happy with at this point is these little tops right here. I feel like they got too light and there's no differentiation between the light and the dark. So I'm going to go back in with the YR23 and just do the underside of those. Just so you can see the difference. If this is too hard, don't do it. There we go. So it's just to add a little bit of that emphasis on there. Okay, I am going to grab my C's back out that we used for his hair. C9, 7, and 6. I don't know how much of them we'll use, but I'm going to have them all handy right here. So I'm going to grab my C9 for my soles of my shoes. So right down here, and I'm just going to do them all in one color. It's a very small area. You don't really need a whole lot of shadowing going on there. Now, if I wanted, I can make the boots black, but I think I'm just going to make the boots the same color as the outfit. But you can do it whatever way works best for you. I also think I want to pull in some blue around this center part, so I'm going to make this black and this black, and we'll put blue in the middle. And then these things on the side, they're going to be gray. So I'm going to put just a little bit of black inside here. Kind of just drawing lines right now to get that color in there. And that's it. I don't want to do anything else on black. C7 is next. I'm just going to extend out a little bit from where I put that last color towards that, like away from that center line between these two sections. I mean, you can really color these any way you want. I'm going to work a little bit on this right here. The center stone will be blue, but for now, I want the rest of that to be C7. C6 will finish off all of those pieces that we want to be gray. And then we'll be finished with that part. We'll move on to our blue, and that'll finish up our image. So, building in this C7. If you want the detail to show more in this belt, then use lighter C colors. But I try to limit them when I'm on a live so they, you know, it's not too many colors. It's not overpowering. All right, so that's it for that. Now, onto the blue. We have B99, B37, B26, B04, and B12. Those are our blue colors. So here we go. You guys ready? It's time to jump on in there. B99, that's my darkest color. Now, no, remember, this is just a little guy. He doesn't need a lot of each color. So I'm just going to put in where the shadow would be. So I'm going to start off with up here right by his neck. Okay? There's also a stripe right there, and I think I'm just going to fill that in, because otherwise I'm going to worry about that little white spot for no reason. I'm going to do up underneath these shoulder pads right here, but again, you know, I don't like that squared off, so we're going to kind of fill it in a little bit. Like if I do it like this, it's going to keep it square, and I don't like that, so I'm just going to put a little bit of extra in there for that shadow area. Underneath the stone right here, I want a little bit of that darkness right there. It'll just make it stand out that much better. I don't want anything in the belt just yet, but I do want under the belt a little bit. And under this top that he has over top of his leggings. That's what they look like. So I'm going to put some right around here. Now, I want his boots to be blue as well. So I am going to go along this area right here and the back side of his boot. Again, round that off. Just like that. I'm going to do kind of the same thing on the other side. Rounding this area right here. And that kind of gets you a little bit. I don't want to go this dark on those stripes. I think it's too dark and it'll look black. And that will not be fun. So, I'm going to switch over to our B37 now. This one's the little bit brighter blue. So this is the one that I will start the stripes with. But before we do the stripes, we're going to just extend from where we put this last color right here. And I'm going to go up a little bit right here. So down his arm, extending those colors, and then up just a little bit right there. This is his collar. I'm just going to put a teeny bit on it, not too much. These are the stripes, so I'm just going to start them off a little bit of the dark color on each side. This will also give you an idea of how to do candy canes. I usually do candy canes in this same type of manner, just with white or gray and red. Do these tiny spots. Remember, you do not have to do these stripes. They're light enough that you can just cover them up if you want to do the whole vest in one color. I just want to show you what it looks like because some people might be too intimidated to want to do that. And I like the way it looks. So, building this in, the oh so dreaded part right there between his legs. Put that color in. And then for his boots, we're going to come around a little bit in the front where the folds are, a little bit right here, and then we're going to extend a little bit further from where we put that last color, and along the bottom of his shoe. So just kind of building that out right here, where that fold is. And then that starts to get his outfit like really starting to come along. I'm going to add just a teeny bit right here on each side of this circle. And that's it. Next, I'm going to move to B26. All right, here we go. We're going to add a little bit here. And along the top. This is our one we're going to go around the outside and like start really filling in, because this is a bright blue and it's pretty and it's kind of getting me to that color I want. Plus we're going to really start changing the tone with the next color. So just extending out from where I put all those other colors, doing around the outside, just getting it all filled in, leaving white spaces for the last two colors. The very last color, we won't use a whole lot of that one. It is strictly for just a very highlight area. I want to keep it a little bit darker. But this is the around the outside, so making sure everything around the outside is filled in. Extending out here. If you start filling in too much of it, you can always stop at whatever level you're at once you have it starting to fill in. He's looking good with the yellow and blue. Thanks. I'm liking him too. I haven't colored him in yellow or blue. So I did red and blue and green and yellow, but I thought this would be cool. And again, I picked it based off the paper, so yeah. But I'm liking how it's coming out. Okay, B04. That is the one that's going to really brighten it up. Are we ready for that? I don't know. Actually, I think I'm going to back up one step. I forgot to do the stripes with the B26, and we definitely need some in the stripes. So coming back with the B26, I'm going to finish off his collar. And then I'm going to extend a little bit from each side on these stripes. Once we start with the next color, it's really going to change, and we need this little bit of this color in here to keep it from being these really bright turquoise stripes. Of course, if you miss that step and you have to use the B04, it's okay, because B12 will tone it down, so you can always, fix it up with that. Now B04. This is the one that's going to really lighten it up. So let's use a bigger spot, like here. Let's not start with the stripes. We'll start here and see how well it all kind of starts coming together. We're only leaving very small area for that last color. Want to make sure these blend together, although it will help to use the next color, so I'm not going to focus on that too much. This particular marker I have kind of has the nib kind of puts a lot of juice out, so I have to be a little bit careful when I'm using this color not to oversaturate or go outside the lines. I'll leave a little bit over here for that last color as well. So I'm trying not to do too much close to the yellow so that I don't go into the yellow. But this is looking nice. I'm liking it. And I like this brighter blue. It really does bring it out. Make it a little brighter. It almost makes it like a shiny outfit, kind of like, the superheroes always have the really cool stuff. So blending in these little areas right here with this blue. And I may end up going back in and making those just the dark color. I'm not sure I like them with this B04 in there. So I think I might go back and darken those with the B26. They'll just be darker than the rest of the outfit, which I think will look better. They kind of, since they're so close to yellow, they kind of look a little bit green. And I don't really want them to look green, so I think what we're going to do is go back in with the darker color. But before we get to that, We're going to finish off the rest of his outfit, and then we'll go back in with one more touch up with the B26. So this is the B12. We're just going to go in there and blend these so we get a smooth look. And we're using the B12 because it has more colorless blender and it'll kind of lighten up the outfit. I'm not going to do the stripes because we're going to go back over them with B26. But I do want to make sure I get everything else blended up nicely. Might take us a little bit of work because this B12 is really, really light. So if for some reason we have to go back in with the B04, we can. But it seems like it's blending very nicely, so I think we're going to be okay. Yeah, looking good. So I'm really just blending them together. Almost in circular motions, just so I'm not washing out the darkest color, but still using some of the dark color to get that blend to go nicely. I don't use circular motions very often, but it does kind of help in this situation. So I like it. I like the blend. I like the way it looks. I'm pretty happy with that. We are almost there because remember we already made our cards, so all we have to do is put it together. So this is the B26 I talked about. I want to make these stripes darker. I just didn't like them light. I just like them a lot better darker. What do you think? You like them better darker? I think they look so much better. Just didn't like them with that lighter color. So never feel like, oh, I messed that up. It doesn't look good. Just add more. Add more of something. Make it better. Don't be afraid. Just keep adding till you're happy. Last step we have is the eyes. Super simple. I'm not going to do a lot on them. We're just going to do that top to bottom like we normally do. So this is YG 17 is our darkest color. And we're just going to do that at the top. Now there's an open circle right there. So I'm just going to go along right by it. Just like, so it kind of closes it up a little bit. I want that to be kind of dark up there, so I kind of went over it a couple of times. Kind of deepen that up. I also want to put just a teeny bit on the inside. Make sure you don't go into the skin because that would really be a bummer. Then we have YG03, which is much lighter. I'm going to come down the side. We're going to leave that little bit at the bottom left for the YG21. I'm kind of liking this for sure. Thanks, Cheryl. You agree. You liked it better too. YG21. I definitely liked it better. So I'm just kind of going along that bottom area right there. Just sort of blending in those colors and getting myself a nice, pretty green eyes. Not going to focus anymore on changing the eyes. I like them just like that. But you guys know how I am. I have to deepen the eyes with my multi-liner. I always do this. 0.25. Because I need a smaller tip so I don't go over the white. But if I do, I can always go back with a white gel pen and fix that. Here is the reason why I always go over the eyes. You can see the difference between the two, especially from a distance. It just looks better. I just like it better. There we go. And we will reinforce that white with the white gel pen, just not yet. I got to cut them out real quick. So, and you guys know, I can cut them out pretty quick. Yes, much better. I agree. Okay, so I have these tiny scissors. I'm going to use them to cut him out. And I promise it won't take too long. I'm kind of a fast cutter. So what'd you think so far? You like it? And if you just joined in and you missed the card making, I put all the measurements and gave you all the details on how to make it at the beginning of the video, because I wanted for those that were requesting it to be able to just go in and watch the beginning if they weren't interested in the coloring and such. So we did the card first. So you can go back and watch the replay. Once you see what the card base looks like, you may want to do that. But we did go through all the details. And I'm cutting out this little area right here. You do not have to, but it will bug me, so I have to. And just as long as I don't cut his leg off, will be great. Remember, when you're fussy cutting, move the paper, not the scissors. You get a much better, cleaner cut. And it's a lot easier. If you cut too far or something, it doesn't matter. Just go back and cut where you're supposed to cut. No one will ever be able to see that you cut too far. It just doesn't stand out in the image. So never toss an image because you cut too far or whatever. I mean, like I could cut right into his hair like that. And when I finish this card, you're never going to know I did that. So don't be afraid. Just kind of move the paper a little bit so it's bumpy, so it matches the hair and it'll look like it was a die that cut it out. I mean, if you have a brother scan and cut, you'll see that a scan and cut will do that to give the impression of a die cut or around the edges and all that kind of stuff. So I just do what the brother scan and cut does. I just do it by hand. A trick for cutting in between these areas, there's not really enough room in there. Don't worry about that. Just go right straight in the middle. If you want to cut some of this out, you cut it out, and when you go back, you just put the hand together with the leg and it'll look like the pieces are attached. I promise it will. No one will know, no one will be the wiser. Except for you guys who are watching me do it, you will know. But see, I got that part cut out between his hand, and when I glue that down, you are not going to be able to tell that I cut that apart. Lots of tips and tricks when you're fussy cutting, not to worry about it. Don't worry about all the detail. You still have not used your scan and cut. Holy Toledo. Don't you want to? All right, let's grab our card. Remember I said we were almost done with it. So we're going to take our little guy and we're going to put him right here on this side. He's in the green with the blue. I think he matches very nicely. So we're going to glue him down. I have some sentiments from Tim Holtz that I might use, just because I had some good superhero-ish sentiments. I'll put the white gel pen on last. If you have fear of putting your soda press over top of your image, just lay it down like this on this side, and that way you don't have to worry about it shifting. And you'll get a good hold on your image. Okay, my white gel pen is right here. So in here is where you would put the sentiments or write to whoever you want that to go to. I'm going to grab those good sentiments I was talking about just a minute ago. I think they are handy right here. Clearly, I used a bunch of them. I used a bunch of them in the book that we made the other night. So we made this book. I went in and added all these little additional, she is brave, believe in yourself. I added all these little sentiments because I thought that they were perfect for that. So I'm going to pull that out. You can use, they have silver. I like the gold, the one with the gold. I think will look better in this case because we have a lot of yellow. So I'm going to pull that, but there's also white ones. If you decide you want to use white, you can use white. But I think I'm going to go with the black and the gold. I really like the black ones. I really, really, really do. All right, so I was going to put a couple of little things up there. Be your see the world, trust your heart, free to fly, shine brightly, rise above. Let's celebrate. That's a good one. Oh, look, I can say, hello there. Let's celebrate. So here's hello there. And then let's celebrate is right here. Perfect. Okay. Here's my white gel pen. This is my favorite one. It's called Milky Way by Deco Gel. As you can see, I've used it almost all the way up. It's about right here right now. These are refillable, so don't throw them away. You can just unscrew right here and add another one in there, so you don't have to throw them away. I really, really like them. Well, let's hope. Okay. So I'm just going to make sure it writes. It always does, but sometimes you have to get it started. I'm going to just do some little lines around the edge of this just to fancy it up a little bit. You could do dots or lines or whatever works for you. And you can go up the side or you cannot. It's up to you. Whatever you want. I like mine along the edge, so I'm going to do that real quick. This pen is running out of ink. I don't know how far down it's, or how much it's supposed to use, or if it's supposed to use it all, or... But I don't like the ones that skip. I don't like a skipped space between my white gel pen, and I don't have that with this one. I don't know why white gel pens are so hard to use, but this one has been the best one I've had so far. And I have tried a lot. But there's my stitched. I also want to go over here and I'll just do his stuff right now. His eyes. See, it builds that other little circle back in there, and then his regular eye pupil, so it starts to look really good. And I want a little bit on these little shoulder pads, these shoulder areas right here, and I want to put a little teeny bit right there in the center of that little stone. And I think I'll do it on these as well, just really small areas. And then right across the top of his little boots. And I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'm going to put one little dot on his belt. And that pretty much makes me happy. I'll show it to you up close in just a few minutes. Alright, I want to use these. Oh, I should have used silver. Now I'm going to use these words that are gold, that are silver, but that's okay. Alright, so I'm going to do hero. on this inside part. And I want to show you how I do it when I'm not exactly sure where I want the letters to be. I need to even them out, but it's only 4 letters, so I don't have like a middle letter to start with. So I'm just going to stick that there for now. I don't press it down so I can move it if I need it. Here's the E. Just going to stick it right there. And this is how I decide where I want these letters to be so they're spaced out appropriately. These are a little bit smaller than the other ones I was using, so I'm glad I did this so I can space them out correctly. Seem to be struggling with this little guy right here. Oh, he is on there good. There we go. All right. So I want it to be about the same from the top and the bottom. So what I'm going to do is move this one down a little bit. About right there. I'll press it down just a little bit more than I had it before. It's a little bit crooked, so straighten it out. And then I'm going to take my H and I'm going to move it down a little bit. So I'm about the same amount here as I am here. And then I'm going to touch it in the center. And then I'm going to move the R so that I have approximately just a little bit between those two. So this one has more, so this one has to move up. Straight, making sure it's straight. It'll stay glued when I'm ready. Otherwise you can use the glue to add to it, but I want to straighten this up too. Once I get it lined up about where I want it, and I know that I like it, then I'm going to press it down with this. Just like that. If I want to run this across it, I'll just grab myself another piece of paper like this and just do it like this. Because I don't want to move the letters around or mess anything up, so there we go. So now we have our sparkly hero going on here. You can put your sentiment here. I'm going to put another one over here. So it says, hello there, let's celebrate. I'm looking for one that goes with that. Maybe I'll use that one. Yeah, there's no birthday, so I'm just going to use smile on the inside because I think it'd be cute. And I can add happy birthday later if I decide I want to do that. And I think I'm going to move this one right up to that. I think that'll look really cute. And it's covered when you close it. Let's see, what can we put on this side? Bling, of course. But this is a guide card, so we don't want too much bling. Hang tight, I'm grabbing my bling container. I have a lot of stuff on my desk. I'm working on a project, so I have to move it out of the way when we do our live and then put it back when we're done. Let's see. What do I want to put over here? I think I'll just use these. These are our resin dots that we have in the shop. This one is like almost like a really light blue with some blue sparkle in it. It's really neat. So I think it'll look really good. Look how much it shines, but because they're clear, they do kind of show a little bit of whatever color you put them over. So they do give a little bit of a hint to that color, but I love these dots. So I think I'm just going to put 3 on there. Put this other tiny one on there. Let's see how it goes. Maybe right there. And I think that'll be perfect. I can always add something over here if I want to, like the dog. Or not. So I'm going to use my glue. These are not self-adhesive dots, so I have to use my glue, which I prefer. Most of the time I find those sticky things come off anyway, so I'd rather just not have to worry about that. If it goes outside the lines, don't worry. If it goes outside the dot, don't worry about it. It dries clear and invisible, so don't have to worry about it. It's the Barely Art glue. Now, if it bothers you, you can go in. I sometimes will go in and move a little bit of the excess glue out, but you don't really need to because it will dry clear and invisible. But because this is glossy paper, and sometimes people struggle with getting stuff to stick to glossy paper, I like to go in with my press pop like this and just really press down and hold it for a couple of seconds to make sure that it gets a really good grip before I let go. It usually does spread a little bit of the glue on the outside, but it's okay because I know it's getting a really good hold. And then it dries clear on the outside. So, yep, that one stuck to my pad. So I'm going to put it back down there, and it'll probably stick perfectly as soon as I press it down. There we go. And perfect. So I am going to go around and remove a little of this glue because I put a little bit too much. And it just bugs me. The rest of it will dry and we'll be fine. But look at how pretty they are. When it dries, it's going to be completely see-through. And you'll be able to see the sparkle in it. It takes a bit to dry though, so you'll have to look at when I post the picture of it. There you go. This is the card that people were asking me to show them how to make. So now we did the instructions. Here's the one that I had posted that everybody liked. This is from the Sassy Club. And the paper and the image are from Doux Designs. So you can check them out in our shop. I hope you guys liked that. Those who are going to come back for Thursday night's video, I am going to do the villain. Where is it? Did you give it to me already?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I wanted to show you guys which one I was going to do. I'm going to do the villain girl that kind of looks like the cheetah girl. I don't know where my stamps went. They were just sitting here on my desk. Oh, here they are. This one. Because she is, oh, I just love her so much. She's one of my favorites. So we're going to do her on Thursday. And I'll see if I can find another shaped card for us to do if you'd like. With some kind of interactive, or maybe we'll do 2 or 3, or maybe we'll make the fold go the other way. I don't know. But we'll come up with something cool to do. And maybe we'll use these, like, you know, on the background, show you how to do that. But anyway, we are doing her for sure on Thursday. So I'm super excited about it. I hope you'll come back and join me. Remember, it's 8 Central. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate you sticking around. I hope that you like it. Love you guys. Talk to you on Thursday. Good night.